The Clopton Way, 11.5 miles from Wimpole Hall to Gamlingay in April 2025. Over the years, I had walked the various stages of this relatively short, delightful local trail on numerous occasions, but never all in one go. So, on a glorious sunny day in April 2025, my friend Judy and I set off to remedy the situation and walk the whole trail in one day. The Clopton Way links the Greensand Ridge Way and the Wimpole Way, thus creating a 64-mile long-distance walk. On its way, it passes through the villages of Arrington, Croydon and Cockayne-Hatley, the deserted medieval village of Clopton and Potton Wood. It includes some great views to the south from the central section, looking out across to Thurfield Heath near Royston and the Icknield Way in the far distance. Here we are at the start of our walk at Wimpole Hall, where we watched a barn owl sitting on a tree and then gliding gracefully across the field, a magical moment in the early morning mist. This photo was taken on an earlier jaunt along the trail when I walked the first half with my friends Keith and Rick in 2018. 18th century Wimpole Hall, which was the home of the daughter of Rudyard Kipling and her husband for 40 years during the mid-20th century. It was bequeathed to the National Trust on her death in 1976. The hall stands in 3,000 acres of parkland and farmland. The northern side of the hall was landscaped by Capability Brown and includes a serpentine lake and a fake Gothic folly. Leaving the Wimpole estate via the Arrington Gate. And we're on our way. The village sign of Arrington, which straddles the old Roman road Ermine Street. It is rumoured that the notorious highwayman Dick Turpin used to operate in the area. Apparently, Arrington Hill is the first hill of any size on the way north from London, and coaches and horses were forced to slow down as they ascended the hill, thus providing Turpin with an ideal spot to strike. The Arrington Village Garden, a lovely peaceful spot. The Church of St Nicholas, Arrington. Not sure about walking through this field at Highland Cow Cottage in Arrington. They looked innocent enough, but we decided to divert round the field because some of them did have very big horns. Apparently you can get up close and personal with them and enjoy afternoon tea at the same time in the farm's heated Highland Cow themed igloos. Leaving Arrington with Rick on our walk in 2018. Alexander's growing next to an ash tree near Manor Farm in Croydon. Alexander's is an edible plant, also known as wild celery. It is diuretic and has traditionally been used for treating stomach and menstrual problems, scurvy, asthma and dropsy, and for boosting immunity. Approaching the deserted medieval village of Clopton, which was once a prosperous settlement and home to around 500 to 600 people. It slowly became deserted during the late medieval period as a result of the Black Death and enclosure. Clopton, which has great views across to Thurfield Heath and the Icknield Way to the south. It is now a peaceful site, nestling just below a ridge which protects it from the cold north winds coming across from Siberia. The trail passing through is believed to be a track of Anglo-Saxon or perhaps earlier origin. More typical trail between Tadlow and Cockayne-Hatley. we met some horse riders on the trail above Tadlow. A profusion of dandelions growing along the side of the trail. Dandelions have tonic, laxative and diuretic properties. The Church of St. John the Baptist, Cockayne Hatley. The energy there is very special. Once, after attending a night concert held there, I saw inexplicable, multicoloured spirals of energy swirling above the church. It was a very surreal experience. Normally this church is locked, but we arrived just as the warden was opening it up in preparation for an ash burying ceremony, and she gave us a guided tour of this very interesting church. Serendipity. The features of the church include beautiful Belgian wood carvings, 17th century Flemish misery chords under the 35 seats in the choir, including this green man. More misery chords. Brasses. Medieval graffiti on some of the pillars. And a 14th century stained glass window, apparently one of the oldest in the country. Entering Clopton Wood, which was awash with birdsong. Clopton Wood is an ancient ash maple wood. Evidence of ridge and furrow farming can be seen beneath the trees. Beautiful Lorbritia as we entered Gamlingay. The village was once a prosperous settlement, which declined after much of it was destroyed by fire in 1600. The Clopton Way ends and starts at the end and start of the 40-mile Greensand Ridge Walk, which I walked in 2010. According to legend, Dick Turpin often rode Black Bess along the final part of this walk, Park Lane, which formed part of the old road to York. It definitely wasn't 11.5 miles. That signpost is lying. Judy celebrating at the end of the Clopton Way in the Gamlingay Sinks, which are named after the soft marshy ground that was once characteristic of that part of the parish. Lessons learnt. There is so much history behind every single feature in the landscape in my local area. Dick Turpin operated in this area. Clopton means town of the hill farm. The 19th century poet W.E. Henley and his daughter Margaret are buried in the churchyard of Cockayne Hatley Church. Margaret is believed to have inspired the character of Wendy in J. M. Barrie's Peter Pan by describing Henley as her father's Fwendy,